If you're watching this video, there's a good chance you're in the market for a new car and looking into Tesla. Tesla does things a lot differently than most automakers, so it can sometimes be a bit confusing as to what the car actually includes, what upgrades you might want, what the buying process is like, how much insurance costs, when to buy, and much more. Today I'm going to do my best to answer all the questions you may have as a new Tesla buyer in 2024, so let's get into it. To start with, let's answer one of the most basic questions about Tesla's buying process. Tesla sells direct to consumer, so instead of going to a dealership, you make your order online and get in a queue for your car being produced and delivered to you. Even if you go to a Tesla store, this is the process they walk you through. Depending on the time of year though, Tesla's website may lead you to explore inventory. So what is the difference between custom ordering a Tesla and ordering one from inventory? A custom order Tesla is one you configure entirely yourself and is made to order. For example, in the US, for the Model Y, you can choose the spec, rear-wheel drive long range all-wheel drive or performance, choose the paint color, choose the wheels, add a tow hitch or not, choose the interior color, choose 5 or 7 seats for certain configurations, choose an Autopilot upgrade, which we'll detail in a bit, and then choose what charging equipment you want if you need it. From there, Tesla will estimate your delivery, since your car will be added into the queue of vehicles coming out of the factory. Right now they say June delivery, so immediate. Sometimes this wait can be longer if demand is higher. With custom order, you get exactly what you want, but depending on the time of year and their demand, you may have to wait. Sometimes though, Tesla will let you know that an inventory vehicle near you matches your configuration. In that case, you'll be able to get exactly what you want very soon. Explore Inventory brings you to a page of all Teslas that are readily available to be delivered soon. You can see where they're available, sometimes they have mileage on them if they're a demo vehicle, and sometimes they will have their price decreased as well. The only real difference here is that you have to find a car that satisfies the options that you want, and it's immediately available. It's more like seeing the cars available at a dealership. So if the exact configuration you want is in inventory, go for it. It'll be the same as custom ordering, and may include a discount of some sort. Next is an option many people have questions about when finalizing their order. What self-driving options do I get? What does the car come with? There are now only 2 levels of self-driving features that Tesla ships in the US, basic autopilot and full self-driving capability. The first thing to note right off the bat is that every single Tesla sold today comes with Tesla's basic autopilot system by default. If you buy a vehicle from Tesla today, it will come with their basic autopilot system. This system uses the cameras around the car and the FSD computer to enable autopilot safety features first. These are automatic emergency braking, forward collision warning, side collision warning, obstacle-aware acceleration, blind spot monitoring, lane departure avoidance, and emergency lane departure avoidance. On top of that, though, it delivers traffic-aware cruise control and auto steer. Traffic-aware cruise control is an advanced cruise control which keeps the speed you set, but also brakes and accelerates for you to keep with the flow of traffic. Auto steer will steer for you on most well-marked roads. On freeways, it can do so up to 85 miles per hour. So in practice, this means that you get yourself onto the freeway, find the lane you want to be in, enter autopilot, and it can drive for you for quite a while, as long as you're staying in that lane. Your attention is required and confirmed with required steering wheel nudges, and then you have to handle lane changes or anything else yourself. Again, everything I just detailed comes standard with every Tesla, and no upgrade charge. In my opinion, it's plenty for the majority of customers. I have used it a ton over the years, and I love using it on long road trips or long stretches of the freeway. It's not perfect, and you'll find the situations where you don't really want to use it, but overall it's great. Full self-driving capability is now an $8,000 upgrade that brings Navigate on Autopilot, Auto Lane Change, Auto Park, Summon, Smart Summon, Auto Steer on city streets, and traffic light and stop sign control. These features are basically all in beta form to a degree, and some, like Smart Summon, where you call the car to you in a parking lot, are still not available on the newest cars. These features should fully arrive soon. With that said, the main standout is Tesla's FSD beta, which with recent version 12 has gotten quite good. It's still not perfect, it will do frustrating things, and you have to monitor it, but it can handle most driving scenarios. I've done long drives with it across LA where it drives me from my house to my destination, handling everything in between pretty well. Tesla is constantly improving this, and what you get with this upgrade is every update of this system in perpetuity. Tesla's goal is that this becomes a driverless system where you don't need to pay attention anymore, but today it still requires active monitoring, and interior eye tracking will ensure that. In my opinion, basic autopilot is still, at this point, plenty for most people, and you can probably save your money, but FSD is getting good enough that more people will be interested than have been in the past. The nice thing there is that if you change your mind, these are simply software-based upgrades. You can buy the FSD package from the Tesla app later on, and it will install within minutes. Or you can subscribe for $99 per month and try it out, or subscribe as long as you want. If those prices were to stay consistent, that would mean that buying it outright at $8,000 would take about 80 months or 6.6 years to make more sense than subscribing to this package. However, as we've seen, Tesla adjusts this pricing all the time, so it is tough to decide. FSD is definitely a very cool system, but I think most customers are surprised that the car actually comes with a lot of self-driving capability by default. Now, if you're on Tesla's website, you've probably seen some pretty crazy listed prices. A Model Y at $299 per month? How? Well, this is possible because Tesla now includes estimated gas savings in their calculations by default, which I am not a fan of. In reality, they're quoting the $399 lease price for a base Model Y and subtracting $100 a month for estimated gas savings. That could totally be how much you find yourself saving, but your lease will still be at $399. The same goes for the cash price or financing. Tesla includes the federal tax credit and gas savings by default, so you may see $508 a month to finance a Model Y. When you turn that off, however, it becomes $712. I would say to just not pay attention to this off the bat. But the good news is that you can customize these estimations for your situation. You click on Customize, and then you can choose total miles, gasoline cost for your area, gas car efficiency, electricity cost, and more to get a truly accurate picture for your particular situation. If you're going to be supercharging all the time, look up supercharger prices for your area. Gas savings aren't nearly as substantial if you're supercharging and not charging at home. The other aspect with a lowered cash or financing price is the federal tax credit. First, you have to qualify, and there's a list of requirements there. But the good news is this is now available at the point of sale, so it truly will lower your cost and the cost that you finance if you're doing so. Right now, interest rates are at 6.39% from Tesla, so it's a big difference to have that $7,500 come off at the point of sale. One thing to look out for in that regard right now is interest rates. 6.39% is pretty standard right now, but very high. Tesla just finished running a 0.99% interest rate promotion, and that is something that on the surface isn't as clear as a price cut, but ends up saving you thousands throughout ownership. These are promotions to look out for in the future, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see another one soon from Tesla. While Tesla offers easy financing, you can also easily finance through a credit union. Sometimes your local credit union may have a really great interest rate available, so that's always worth checking into instead of defaulting to whatever rate Tesla is offering at the time of your purchase. Another consideration for that gas savings estimate is if they're subtracting $6,000 in gas savings, you still have to front the full cost, or a bank has to front the full cost. So if you don't think you'd qualify for a loan that is $6,000 higher than that listed price with estimated gas savings, you might not actually qualify. I understand what Tesla is trying to show you with estimated gas savings because it really can save you quite a bit of money from if you were filling up a similar car with gas, but it's just more complicated than simply subtracting $6,000 over the course of 5 years. One of the biggest questions for prospective EV buyers involves range. Nobody wants range anxiety or to get stuck somewhere. So how accurate is the range prediction in a Tesla? Can a Model Y truly drive me 320 miles? The short answer is it's not very accurate, but it has gotten better. The EPA estimates an all-wheel drive Model Y getting a 308-mile range. That sounds great, but in the real world, you're rarely going to achieve that full range. The EPA tests vehicles in a laboratory with certain conditions. They recently revised their testing practices to more accurately reflect the real world, but in practice, most EVs get less than their promised range. Inside EVs does a 70-mile-per-hour real-world range test with all EVs they test, and in 2020, their results showed a long-range Model Y, then quoted at a 316-mile EPA range, getting 276 miles of range. That's in the real world at 70 miles per hour, and this car could drop even further when driving faster or driving in colder climates. Essentially, the answer here is don't rely on the EPA's range number. If you need to drive about the EPA's promised range in a day, plan to charge with a supercharger. Another consideration is the fact that for daily driving, it's best to be charging to 80%, definitely not 100% in most Teslas. When buying a Tesla, sometimes they have a referral program. You'll see videos where people, including myself, mention this, but currently this program is discontinued. It should return in a few months in some form, so it's worth checking if you're watching this video in the future. Mine is linked below, and depending on when you buy, there could be various benefits to buying with a referral link. In the past, this has included a free 3-month FSD trial, $1,000 off a car, free supercharger miles, and more. If range is really important to you, one thing to pay attention to is how wheel upgrades affect range. For example, the base Model Y now has a 320-mile range, but if you upgrade to induction wheels for $2,000, that range drops to 295 miles. That's a 25-mile difference in EPA estimated range, so it will affect things in the real world. For a long-range Model 3, the wheel upgrade drops the range from 341 miles to 305 miles, a 36-mile decrease. For some, this won't matter and the wheel upgrade is worth it, but to others, it will be another reason to stick with the base race wheels. For the Model Y at least, Tesla just switched over from silver to black wheels and covers, so the look will be new for at least a bit. Regarding range, there are two sides of the coin to consider if you actually need more or less range. For most of Tesla's cars, the battery chemistry is best taken care of when charged to 80% daily. Tesla will automatically recommend this in the vehicle. That means that if you're a heavy commuter, a long-range Model Y with a 320-mile range will actually have about 256 miles available to you daily. Then with real-world considerations, it could end up less. So if you need more than this regularly, that's definitely worth considering. You'll likely be at a supercharger often. On the other side of things, though, is considering how much range you actually need. For the Model 3, for example, you can get long-range all-wheel drive with a 341-mile EPA range, but the base Model 3 gets a 272-mile range. Interestingly, that base model uses a different chemistry that can actually be charged to 100% daily, so you will still have 272 miles EPA estimated range available daily. Especially if you're able to charge at home, you'll likely find that this is plenty of range for you and you don't need to upgrade to a larger battery pack. I found this to be the case for my particular situation. All of those considerations for range typically matter to people because of charging. So how long does it take to charge a Tesla? The short answer, usually you won't be too concerned with it. I say this because charging an EV comes with a different mindset than filling up with gas and can't be compared apples to apples. That's because there are a variety of ways to charge them. I'll break them down from fastest to slowest right now, and as an owner, you'll most likely use a combination of all of these. It won't simply be that you replace gasoline stops with charging stops at a supercharger. Depending on your situation as well, the slowest charging may only actually use 10 seconds of your time. There are 3 EV charging levels. To start off on the fast charging side of things, let's look at level 3 or DC fast charging. Tesla says you can recharge up to 200 miles of range in as little as 15 minutes, but that involves a few estimates. In reality, it's a bit more complicated because batteries vary in how they receive charge. In 2021, Inside EVs charged a Tesla Model 3 at a V3 supercharger. These are currently Tesla's fastest and most common chargers. They detailed each increment here and totaled the time as they went, showing that they got to 10% in 4 minutes, 20% in 6 minutes, 30% in 9 minutes, 40% in 13, 50 in 16, 60 in 21, 70 in 26, and 80 in 32. Right there at 80% is where you will start to see things slow down more, and that's because lithium-ion batteries don't charge as fast above 80%. There's a charging curve that you can see here. They got to 90% in 42 minutes and 100% in 63 minutes. Some may take this to mean it takes 63 minutes every time I fill up my car, but in practice this is hardly practical because of the different mentality that goes with it. It's best to charge most Teslas to 80% each day. It's best for battery health and for charging speed, so on a road trip you'll actually charge as much as you need to get you to your next stop and then take it from there. Another test saw 80% taking 36 minutes and 15 seconds and 100% taking 1 hour and 5 minutes. In practice for a road trip, this means plugging in, using the restroom, getting food, then maybe sitting for a few minutes to get what you need to continue your journey. It will add some time to road trips, but I personally think you only really feel it on very long journeys where you're driving all day. Then there are level 2 chargers. These are 240 volts and encompass many installed public chargers or home chargers. This is the charger that most Tesla owners should install in their home, if they are able to do so. The Tesla wall connector can charge up to 44 miles of range per hour, meaning around a 7.5 hour charge to get from 0 to 100%. That sounds like a lot of hours, but consider the fact that your car starts charging during off-peak hours, usually around 9 p.m. for most owners. Even going from 0 to 100%, which will be rare, this will be ready for you by 4:30 a.m. each morning. This is my experience about 95% of the time. I get home, plug in, and my Tesla is good to go the next morning. I spent about 5 to 10 seconds plugging in and nothing more, so it was much quicker than going and getting gas. To me, this more than makes up for the extra few minutes I spend at a supercharger on road trips. Public chargers that have these speeds typically have around a 4-hour limit, so they really are just there for you to top off. Maybe you can get from 40 to 80% while you're shopping or at work. Again, it's a mindset change. Instead of filling up your tank all the way every time, you just plug in more often. From there are level 1 chargers. This is a standard 120 volt wall outlet. In some ways it charges slower and faster than some expect. A Tesla mobile connector with the 120 volt outlet will get you 3 miles of range per hour. For a Model Y, that means getting from 0 to 100% in 110 hours. Of course, that's a very long time, but again, it can be something that helps you top off. Or if you find yourself at a destination for a few days with minimal driving, it may turn out to be all that you actually need. For most drivers though, driving more than 40 or 50 miles a day, a level 2 charger at home will be necessary. Then if you can't charge at home at all, you'll be using public chargers and superchargers. That's the case where it would add time to your life. So then you'll need to decide what home charger do you want to install if you're installing one. Let's go in order from least expensive to most expensive. The least expensive option is to buy Tesla's mobile connector and use a standard 120 volt outlet. If you can live off the range that I just detailed, that's the cheapest. Then if you're lucky enough to already have a NEMA 1450 plug near your garage, buy Tesla's mobile connector with the NEMA 1450 plug for $250 and you're good to go. This charges up to 30 miles an hour, meaning 0 to 100% in 11 hours. For most, this is still more than fast enough. Up from there is a splitter with Tesla's mobile connector and NEMA 1450 adapter. If you already have a dryer plug that is near where you charge, this is quite handy. I used this splitter from SplitVolt for a few years, and it was great. First, make sure you have the right splitter type, then you can plug this into your dryer plug and plug your dryer and Tesla mobile connector into this. It automatically, safely switches the EV charger off in favor of the dryer when in use, then switches back to the Tesla. I like this because it doesn't require an electrician to install it. Up from there, you could use that NEMA 1450 plug with the mobile connector I mentioned earlier, but have this plug installed as needed. It's a fairly standard plug, so it's usually cheaper than hardwiring a charger. Then there's the official hardwired charger install. Tesla sells their wall connector for $450, and there are many third-party EV chargers out there that match its speed. This requires installation from an electrician, but gets the fastest charging speed at 44 miles of range per hour of charge. The main considerations here are how close your electric panel is to where you plan to charge, and how much room your panel has. In the best scenario, this is close and your panel has room. In the most expensive scenario, you need to upgrade your electric panel, and it's located far from where you plan to charge. This is where the install of a home charger gets expensive. I currently use a Tesla wall connector at home, but honestly would be just fine with the mobile connector on NEMA 1450. Install cost up front can sometimes be expensive, but in most areas you'll quickly recoup those savings with how much you are saving charging in off-peak hours as opposed to going and buying gas. So if we're looking at charger installation and its resulting gas savings, how much does charging a Tesla actually cost? A lot less isn't the most accurate answer, so per usual, this comes in a few forms. On the free side, many public chargers are free. Without that though, you'll be subject to your utility rate for home charging. Many electric companies have a specific plan for EVs that lowers your rates during off-peak hours. For example, I'm in California, one of the most expensive states for electricity, and my time of use prime plan charges me 23 cents per kilowatt hour in the hours I charge in winter. A Model Y battery pack averages around 75 kilowatt hours usable energy, so a 0 to 100% charge will cost me about $17.25. In the real world, that would get me around 250 miles of range. In most other states as well, this is far cheaper, meaning owners can drive 250 miles for less than $10. This is often where the biggest savings comes for Tesla owners. For comparison, a Lexus RX gets 23 miles per gallon on average according to the EPA. As such, we need to compare this to the current 320-mile EPA range for the rear-wheel drive Model Y. Gas prices near me are around $5.40 today. It would take me a little over 14 gallons to drive 320 miles in a Lexus RX according to the EPA, and that would run me a little over $77. Of course, this isn't a perfect comparison, but it looks something like this. Home charging, $17.25, gas, $77. Up from there are supercharger costs. These are more expensive since they are fast chargers and are usually designed to be used during road trips. Their cost also varies depending on the area, much like gasoline. A supercharger near me has rates that vary depending on peak hours. The lowest I see is 28 cents per kilowatt hour, which is actually almost in line with my electric company. And the highest is 49 cents per kilowatt hour. For a full charge, that means about $21 to $36.75. Again, comparing to about $77 with gas. I scrolled all around the country from there and saw rates at 25 cents, 40 cents, 36 cents, 33 cents, and so on, so I think that's a fairly accurate range. Again though, you'll most likely be looking at a mix of supercharging and home charging, falling somewhere in the middle of those ranges. The next cost to consider for a Tesla is, even if you get a great price, insurance may be higher than you're used to. So how high is it? First off, this always varies based on a range of factors: age, location, driving history, and insurance company, but let's check out averages. Tesla also offers their own insurance in a variety of states and usually has the best rates, and that's by design. Across the board though, according to Forbes, the average insurance premium for a 30-year-old Model Y owner is $2,648. This works out to $220.66 per month. The most expensive state is California, and the cheapest is Vermont. On average, the cheapest are Nationwide, USAA, and Erie. Nationwide on average insures a Model Y for $1,602 per year or $133.50 a month. Then it goes up from there, as you can see on Forbes chart. What they don't include is Tesla insurance, which is available in a number of states. According to Value Penguin, the average Tesla quote for Tesla insurance is $187. Interestingly, with Tesla insurance in Texas, which uses a real-time safety score, the average monthly rates range from $74 to $99, depending on your safety score, between 80 and 100. So there are exceptions. The only way to truly know for yourself, though, will be to get a quote. The other thing to consider here is registration costs, which are fairly high in California for EVs like Teslas. Depending on your state, it could be pretty high or pretty low. Lastly, when should you buy a Tesla? Well, unfortunately, this question is nearly impossible to get right. At the current moment, the Model 3 is a few months in on being completely refreshed. We expect the Model Y to be similarly refreshed at some point in the near future, but Tesla has hinted that it won't be this year. At the same time, their timelines change so often, it's hard to take their word for it. For example, in March, Tesla was incentivizing customers to buy Model Ys since prices would increase by $1,000 in April. The price did increase, but a couple weeks later, Tesla dropped its price by $2,000, negating that increase almost immediately and making it less expensive than it was for those customers who bought in March. One more consideration that does seem fairly predictable is that Tesla often offers incentives at the end of a quarter. Some sort of incentives, like a price drop, free supercharger miles, inventory discounts, and more, usually come about since they need to sell off inventory to realize their vehicle revenue for an end-of-quarter report. That's worth looking into, and at the time I'm making this video, that would mean the end of this month, June. With that said, I always say that if a Tesla offers the features you like today at a price you're comfortable with, you can't really go wrong. So those are some of the main questions I come across with new Tesla buyers, and then there are plenty to be answered once you've taken delivery. I have a video breaking down everything to know after buying, as well as a video breaking down the must-have accessories to optimize your Tesla experience, and those are linked below. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.